where we interview people about their careers in the entertainment industry. I'm your host, Erin Newmeyer. Everyone here at Thunder Tally Media is so excited to announce that we are being featured on the Hoo Ha Ha app under the Podcast We Love section. They are on a mission to spotlight and support women in comedy. One of the ways they do that is by amplifying women's voices, like this podcast. If you haven't already, go check out the hoohaha.com website. There's so much great content there. That's where you'll find my podcast and all the other shows featured under the Podcast We Love section. And now I'd like to welcome you to Breaking Big. Hi there. Welcome to Breaking Big. I'm your host, Erin Newmeyer, and we are broadcasting live on camera and on our Thunder Tally Media page on Facebook and our YouTube channel. So if you are listening in podcast-only mode, you can always rewatch the video clips or see any photos there and on Stitcher, which is now offering a video option. So let's get started. This is the one with Summer Rain Menkee. She's an Atlanta-based actress, writer, director, and she's a mom of two who's worked on the fabulous reboot of The Wonder Years. That has Dule Hill, who I love as an actor. He's amazing. While she was a member of the Met Theater in LA, she co-pinned and starred in the award-winning short film Now or Never. And at the Hollywood Fringe Fest, she starred in her solo show, Born Again Bohemian. I love that title. She appeared on P-Valley, The CW's Dynasty, and she's in 3 movies that are available now on streamers and video on demand: the historic drama Till, the thriller Solid Rock Trust, and she shines in her leading role in Hello from Nowhere, which you can watch on Amazon Prime, which I did. It's amazing. I highly recommend. Summer recently appeared opposite Viola Davis in The First Lady on Showtime, and we have a clip from that show that we will share with you later. I'm so excited to have you on the show. Welcome, Summer.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm like, wow, you have been a very busy lady.
I got to say, Atlanta has been good to me. And I miss LA, but the Atlanta move was good.
That's great. I'm just going to warn everybody, while our neighbors have some demo going and they're supposed to be quiet, so please forgive. I think I might also have construction happening in the other unit. So if there's any loud noises, that's why. So let's get started. What got you into the business in the first place?
I mean, I was an only child of a single mom from birth to like age 12. And I think just being like an elementary kid, trying to find stuff to do, I think I had a lot of living room plays with my stuffed animals, a lot of dress up. And I did do a couple commercials as like a 7 and 8 year old. My mom's boyfriend was the videographer. I remember doing that and not wanting to hug the old man that wasn't really my grandpa. And I think that did not do it for me. Sorry, commercials. What did it for me was my mom put me in theater camp at like age 10. And Missoula Children's Theater comes to different cities. And I remember doing that and just being, it's very cliche, but bitten by the stage bug. And from age 10, 12, I just knew like, this is what I want to do. And, like most kids from there, I did school plays, community theater, but I got into this is going to sound weird, but a method acting class, which would be like the Strasberg method acting class that was a little black box theater in town from a traveling actor from New York and LA was teaching. And I convinced her that I needed to be in her class at 15. She called me a steamroller and said, wow, you don't take no for an answer. Cause she was like, this is Strasberg method. You have to be over 18. But somehow I convinced her and worked like at a restaurant on the weekends to like pay for it, and I did it. And it was a crazy experience. Not going to lie, teens are a little young to be doing some of that sense memory work, but my work was great. I was still in love with acting. And from there, even though my mom yanked me out of the class for probably some of the stuff I was doing on stage that she wasn't happy with, I went to theater school. I went and got my theater degree after high school and went to American Conservatory Theater, did their summer program. I was really in love with the theater. I thought I'd end up in New York. Because I did chorus line and, I was a 2.5 threat. I would say I was like a actor, singer, mover. I couldn't tap dance. And for some reason, I moved to LA in 2001. And I will say, because 9/11 happened that same year, I was really happy with my decision that I didn't move to New York at the time. And I think LA, it became more apparent that I really wanted to be doing film and television. And theater has always been my base and my passion and my love. I love working with kids in theater. I love directing theater. I love theater, but I just didn't see it as like my main bread and butter. I couldn't tap dance. What are you gonna do?
Right. I know. I still kind of want to learn how to tap dance. I did a
Right?
workshop at our local Morgan Wixon Theater last year, and but there just isn't that. I mean, like if I wanted to drive for it, I could find something, but just like right by my house, there's nothing super convenient, and I can't do it in my home because I live in a condo, and that would drive my neighbors crazy.
So loud, right? Yeah.
But super fun, and I think a good workout. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Hey, props to the tap dancers. I really commend you. I suck at rhythm also. Like I like to sing, I like to dance, but like get me to hold a tambourine or a shaker and I have really bad rhythm.
That's funny. Well, so I know that you are also a mom in the industry, and I feel like whenever I interview somebody that's a parent, like I'm always so impressed because you really have like you've got your schedule, their schedules, their dreams, and homework,
Mm-hmm.
and then everything that you need to do. So, like, how do you manage, working in the industry with kids?
Yeah, that is a really interesting one, right? I feel like when I was in LA, because my kids were born in LA, and I was a new mom. I think I was pregnant, and I was in a yoga class, and I remember one of the moms there going, "Hey, Summer, I remember you. You worked with my husband in this play. You were wonderful. I'm an agent now. Can I rep you and your baby?" I mean, that was literally like when I was pregnant, and I was like, "Huh?" She's like, "Go out for commercials for mom and baby." So I feel like. And then I was also teaching and directing theater at the time, Lily Say Francais de Los Angeles, with my baby in my stomach. And I feel like he must have known what he was coming into the world with, because it's just interesting. So I guess when he was born, yeah, for some reason at about maybe when I felt comfortable, 4 months old, 6 months old, I can't remember. I remember going to commercial auditions with him. And then when he was like, my oldest was like 2 or 3, they were sending him out on commercial auditions. He got Taft-Hart lead. It was all very interesting. And then now he wants to be a YouTuber, vlogger type, and I just have to monitor that. But parenting with kids, I feel like my older one, I don't know if it was all that "You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown" you heard in the womb as I was directing theater at the time or what, but he's always been like a supportive child. How's that? And his dreams they range from I want to be an engineer like dad and be a chemist to I want to be a voiceover actor in animation. So, it's interesting that you say that, like your kids' dreams and managing our own. And I think it's a lot about having grace, and not, I think finally now I will say I am a divorced parent of 2, which is fine. His dad and I are very different and we're in very different fields. And I think, I'm able to manage it much more as I said the term earlier, a parallel parent, meaning I kind of can do my thing as primary caregiver mom, and I can really be in my zone when I have an audition and I have some, Atlanta can be busy. Sometimes I have 6 auditions in a week that I got to self-tape for, and I'm self-taping at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock when the kids are in bed, or I'm doing it at this time when they're still at school in their aftercare program.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of juggling. It's a lot of getting things in by deadline and making sure I have the energy and mental capacity to do it, because working, a part-time, full-time job, acting, momming, it's all part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just a lot of scheduling and grace. And sometimes they are playing video games or watching a TV show, so it's quiet on set,
Right.
because I'm taping at
Right.
home from an
Well, that's
audition.
what I wondered if, because your kids are still, a little on the younger side. Like I can kind of just be like, "Bye, guys," and I know they're gonna survive the day. but you've got your kids are still a little younger. So what happens when you book a show or you've got to go to Vancouver for 3 days or something?
Right. So what has happened, which has been, so when it's a long shoot, so like Hello from Nowhere, which thank you for watching it and plugging it. That was a 3-week shoot. I got lucky that was shooting in my home state of Oregon, and my mom lives in Oregon. My mom and stepdad do. So she took the boys for that 3 weeks. I was shooting up in Mount Hood, outdoors in nature. And then I would come home to the coast where I'm from, and she lives on weekends. So I would shoot during the weekdays, and then Saturday or Sunday I'd see the boys for that 3 weeks to 4 weeks shoot. So that one I had mom's help, but I live in Georgia, across the country. So when I have, I think we did 3 days on till, or if I'm doing, the job with Viola Davis or whatever it ever happens to be, if it's a co-star or a guest star, I have a neighborhood caregiver lady who helps me out. She picks up the kids after school and helps me in the evenings if I'm not going to be home until late. Or if it's an out of town shoot, then I have to bring in grandma or
right.
get a little more help, or hope that dad will be more co-parenting. But I really have to cover my bases with
Right.
a village. Let's put it that way. I have a village of friends, neighborhood caregivers, and grandma when I absolutely need to
Yeah.
fly her
That's
in.
amazing though. I mean, like that's the thing. It's like, when you're doing something you love, you just sort of make it work.
Yeah.
I've been with you there, like trying to do a dramatic self tape at 10 at night, but like my teenager now is 17, so he's not actually in bed yet, and it's like shh, like. And then like you were talking about when your kids get into these situations. I think in a podcast interview like a year ago, I was talking about some crazy stuff that my son got put through. So it's interesting to hear it from your perspective, like when you were doing Meisner and then you're in an adult class. And I can only imagine the sort of situations, you're like doing that like repetitive eye contact thing and having to say, like whatever it was. I can only imagine your mom's trepidation with that.
Oh, when I was like a teen, right? When I was your
when you were the
age,
teen, that's what I'm
when
saying.
I was
Is it's
the
like,
teen, yeah. So imagine you're teenagers now, right?
oh
And
yeah,
they're
and it's
in,
insane now. Like the stuff like that's on HBO or that gets aired. I mean, it's like it's a lot.
yeah. And this was, I don't know. It's not like times have really changed that much, right?
Right,
But yeah,
right.
the 90s, my mom was like, "What are you doing on stage?" So
Yeah, well, no,
I think I was,
I popped Roman Pulowski just popped in my head too, like that whole situation, So yeah, things haven't really
yeah,
changed.
yeah. That is interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's a juggling act. It's a balancing act. It's what hat am I wearing right now, and trying to be really present and in the moment, right then and there. And another mom friend who I'll shout out later, Angel Parker, gave me advice. She's like, I have this Rehearsal Pro app. All my lines are in there, and I can. I like to kind of memorize in my head if I'm booked something and shooting, but sometimes just like saying the dialogue in the app and then having it back to me. So like sometimes you're doing dishes and you're just listening to lines, whether it's a script that you have to prepare for on set the next day or an audition that's due, and sometimes just multitasking.
Yeah, that's great. I've used that Rehearse app, and then I also one of the strategies I think one of did a casting director workshop that they talked about was you record all of your lines without many pauses,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just hold your phone in your hand so that you can take as long as you want in between the take. So like say you have a line that you want to like you want to have a moment before you say it. You don't have to match your pre-recorded spacing. You know what I mean?
Yes, I would never use a pre-recorded voice like for an audition tape.
No, but even to practice.
Oh, to practice. Yeah, that is the trick with that. You're right.
Yeah, because I've done it both ways, and then when I'm practicing, and then I like I'm trying something different, and all of a sudden I'm cutting my own self off with the other lines. It's like,
yeah, that does happen. I'll be honest. I really like just the traditional couch time. Just by myself. When it's quiet and sitting on the couch, that's really what I prefer. Kind of like reading a book.
Talking to yourself.
Yeah.
So, you were kind of talking about this a little bit when you brought up Angel Parker, but like, having that positive mindset and how that's so important. Like, when you're dealing with your stuff with your kids or your family or your schedule, but for this business, it's just can be such a grind. And I love that. I wonder what your strategies are around having a positive mindset.
Yeah, I feel like it's a game changer, honestly. Like, because I feel like so much of our job as actors is auditioning, right? Auditioning is the job a lot of the time, and we don't have obviously a lot of control over how right we are for that particular role. But just having the mindset of I've heard other great actors say this too. It's like they would be lucky to have me. I bring value to this project. Like positive thoughts like that when we're even going through just the audition process and then being able to release it. It's like instead of, I mean, it's really hard for me to be around actor friends that are like, oh God, I hope I get it. It's like that chorus line song, I hope I get it. You know, how many people does he need? I mean, it's just like, if you're in that mindset, it just doesn't serve the, I don't know, the energy, I guess the high vibration energy to go in and do your job, which is the audition, and to just release it at the end if you're so attached to it. And I'm just speaking personally, because that can be hard. And yeah, sometimes we lose out on something we really wanted and we can cry about it. And I definitely allow myself to cry about the big ones, or be disappointed at the one that like I really wanted. But in general, I feel like if not this, something better. You know, if job is meant for me, it is mine. Like, just, I know that sounds woo woo and simple, but it's something about getting the negative self-talk out of there. And I think I learned a little bit of this at Leslie Kahn. It was like, she had this thing where it was like bats and gats. Okay, write down all your bad actor thoughts. Like, oh gosh, I'm not getting anywhere in my career. Oh, nothing's happening. Okay, now good actor thoughts, reframe it. I am so lucky that I had 7 television and films air this year in 2022. Or I am so lucky that I've got a dearth of content out right now on streaming platforms and network and cable, and the next big job is coming. It's like, instead of just going, why isn't anything happening, you know?
Yeah, no, I love that. And that's great. Like, it's easy to remember too. I think we can get really caught up in all the things that aren't going right and how frustrating it is. And especially now when so many of these auditions are these, you're kind of in your own little world doing your self-tape at home and you don't get any feedback. But it's like,
right, the job
I
is the
enjoyed
feedback,
my
right?
time. I enjoy the time that I have back, that I'm not, because I live in the West Side and every audition's an hour drive. So, I mean, I love that I'm not spending all that time, especially for my kids. I love that they're not spending all that time in the car. But I also feel like I'm sort of operating in a vacuum here. And when something good happens, I'm so like surprised, because I'm like, oh, somebody was watching.
I know. I agree with you on that. It can feel a bit like a vacuum. And I think LA and New York actors, you know, have always had the luxury of going in person, have had the luxury of being in the room and feeling the energy and kind of getting that thank you or next, you know, at the end. And I think that is the weird thing about the self-tape. But I have to say, as a mom, as a parent, it's a lifesaver. I mean, it is a lifesaver.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I'm glad you brought up, Georgia versus LA, because I really wondered, like, I know, like I read your bio and stuff. So I know that you
Mm-hmm.
were out here in Los Angeles for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're in Georgia. So you really have
Mm-hmm.
this perspective of like, what are the benefits, like the pros and cons of LA versus Georgia. So
I am the perfect person to ask that question. No, I mean, there has been a lot of transplants come to Georgia. I think that's probably helped in a lot of ways. Uh, well, I don't want to go there, but like it's a purple state, which has been nice. And I think, and I know we're not talking politically right now, we're talking acting wise, but something about, yeah, I was in LA for 15 years. I was, my first credit there was Sleeper Cell on Showtime back in 2005, and a lot of indie films and theater and commercials and yada yada, and a whole life and businesses and tons of stuff. I moved to Atlanta in 2017, and I would say in the last 5.5 years being in Atlanta, I have booked like way more television and starting more film stuff here, just to get those episodic credits rolling. Just to get the snowball. It's been nice. In Atlanta, it's been a different market coming from LA to Atlanta, and I've been able to book a lot of television after a bit of rebranding, I would say, of me and what I'm bringing to the table in my 40s. Versus in LA, oh, I'm 20, 30 something hot bimbo girl in comedy. Like, it just, I had to do a bit of rebranding for one thing, but I felt like it was helpful for this market to know, okay, I can play the boss. I can play the administrative, techie nurse doctor. I can come in and ironically, some of the string of stuff I've been getting, I'd say that have been a little bigger, have been the white lady in the show about, what's a hot topic right now, race in America. So it's been really interesting to kind of see okay, what am I marketable as? Not only, okay, as a 40 something mom, but also what am I marketable as in this market where I'm going to be going out for a lot of co-stars right now. And obviously I've been booking supporting and like leads and, you know, some films, and it's been awesome. But I'd say like just kind of coming into the market, kind of knowing, okay, how do I see myself? How can I kind of find a niche in this market? I didn't know it would be, you know, nicer Karen white lady, but that's a thing, you know, in a lot of the stories
Right.
being told these days. And it's interesting for sure. But sorry, your question was really Atlanta or Georgia versus LA. LA can be a huge concrete jungle sea of, you know, beautiful people, comedians, people. There's always going to be somebody younger, smarter, prettier, funnier, you know, than whoever I am. But only I can bring what I can uniquely bring to the table. So I think that's a lot of the mindset for me too. I think in LA, it's so easy for younger actors, especially, to play the comparison game and not just own who you are, what you bring to the table, and yeah, what's my unique branding or marketing. I don't know. It's easier in Atlanta to do
speaking of
that.
your
How's
unique
that?
branding and marketing, you sent us a picture of when you were at the Women's March, and Bex is gonna pop that up. I love this. I love like you're striking a pose, and your posters are like on point.
Thank you. I know. I love that I somehow was carrying that poster. Okay, so Georgia versus LA, it's different for the acting, obviously. So segue. And what I meant by that too is like there's still in this Atlanta market flying in the most of the larger guest stars, definitely the series regulars, you know, from LA and New York. And what's here is the co-stars, some of the times recurring co-stars, sometimes a guest star. It's not that you can't break in here, you can. And I know your podcast is called Breaking Big. So you can break in here in this market, but it's kind of like knowing the terrain and what the expectations are going in. And then why. So the Women's March was huge in LA. I know that. I know that it was bigger than the one in DC. And I was living in LA in 2017. I had just had my second child in 2016. So I had a 11-month-old and a 3.5-year-old. Yet I chose to fly my ass all the way to Washington, D.C. to march with that awesome poster because I literally felt like we were going back 400 years. The minute that election happened in 2016, I was incensed. Like many people, I felt like this is going to be terrible for women's rights. This is going to send us back to the 1950s or previously. I mean, it just felt something in me said, I have to go to DC. I have to march in front of the White House. And the energy there was palpable. I mean, I know LA was a bigger march, and I know like all my friends were like, why are you going to DC? But something about me needed to go to the Capitol and like lay that poster down on the steps. And it was a peaceful march.
It looks great. It's beautiful. Can you tell for people that couldn't see the picture what the poster said?
Yes, it said, I think it said, our bodies, our minds, wait.
I don't have the picture up now, so I can't tell.
Okay, yeah. Our bodies, our minds, our power.
Okay, yeah, I love it. I love that.
And then now to live in Georgia after Roe v. Wade. I mean, it's just I had the intuition then. I didn't know it would result in this Supreme Court. I mean, none of us knew like the Supreme Court was going to overturn something, but it's ironic, it's weird, and it's also weird to live in a purple state. It's not the little blue bubble of Los Angeles, and you know.
No, which I think can be good to like hear the like. I don't know. I mean, look, I love as much as anyone to be supported in my views, but it is nice to hear the other side, because I think what we're missing so much right now in America is like empathy and sympathy. Like a lot of these, the things that people are upset about, maybe they're not articulating it well, or maybe it's coming across as just like anger and fear. But there's something behind that we need to kind of like work with and address, because, you know, otherwise it's always going to be us and them. So I just miss the days when I didn't have to constantly, you know, just cry about what's happening in the world today, you know? So it's like, agree. I mean, on one hand, it's good. Look, because I mean, the fact that we weren't crying was probably just a sign of like privilege, right? Because, you know, we were ignoring a thing because it wasn't as hard for some people as it was for other people. So, I mean, on one hand, like, I'm really glad that I'm more aware of, you know, the world I live in. It's sad.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to know, and I think that's, that's an important step that we need to keep moving forward on. But anyway, I didn't mean to get all political either. So let's get this back on track, because before we run out of time, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about like like what did you do for like education? And I know you kind of got into writing. Like I know you wrote Now or Never, and like what was that like? And then you also did your own show, Born Again Bohemian, which I mean, I have thought about doing that, but then I think, boy, if I really did like my own woman show, I don't think half my family would want to come see it, because that's the problem I always have is like when you're doing like a comedy thing or something, someone always gets thrown under the bus.
Yeah, I did not have my family come to it. And they didn't live in LA.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
if they
I
had been
mean,
there, would they have been comfortable with the content?
you know what? I didn't do it for them. I did it for me. And I think that I think every decade is like about reinvention or something, because I don't know. I grew up really religious, and meaning like my mom was a born again Christian after having been a hippie in the 70s. And my mom and dad were not married. So on my IMDb profile, I think it says, born and raised or born of hippie parents in Oregon, which is true. My name, Summer Rain, is really my name on my birth certificate. I had hippie parents. They weren't married. And my mom raised me. And then I had a stepdad when I was 12. And they're still very Christian and very like born again Christian. And I consider myself more spiritual, not religious. And so Born Again Bohemian, writing that was almost like therapy. It was like an origin story of sorts. Like, where do I come from? Where am I now? And what's my spiritual journey beyond that, I guess, for lack of a better word. So it's called Born Again Bohemian because of my weird upbringing. And again, maybe going back to like the method acting class, like my mom being supportive of me, seeing me doing all this, being very supportive, like, okay, this is this very creative child with a lot of energy. Let's get her in theater camp. Okay, here's an acting class you can take. Being very supportive, but then at the same time being like, well, cross your legs and don't have sex till you're married. Well, divorce is shameful. Well, the church says, I mean, a lot of, it's a lot of Bible
it's
stuff.
a lot of cyclical thinking in those situations too. It's like, there's a lot of contradiction, and again, they can be tricky. And then it's, it's funny, the whole born again idea. I love the title Born Again Bohemian. That's amazing.
Thank you. Kind of rebirthing myself as a bohemian. I mean, I'm not like a total hippie with dreads, but it's not like, it's like the idea that like, yeah, rebirthing as a bohemian, like that's really feels more my MO.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that. Well, with all of this writing, like, I mean, is that something you're going to do again? Like, did you find from like a career standpoint, was it really beneficial to do the one woman show, or you know what I mean? Because a lot of like that used to be the thing, right? It used to be like, oh, if you want to do theater, even if you wanted to kind of break into acting stuff, you did your one person show, and then maybe people came and saw it, and you got a great job somewhere. But like now it's kind of like make your own film,
I would say that the making of our own short film, Now or Never, your other question, was definitely more of an industry boon and a trajectory from, I'd say writing, plus I'm such a collaborator, to be quite honest. I like co-writing. I like co-producing. I like the collab. That's probably why acting is my main thing. I like the collaboration more than just like sitting behind a door by myself for a year writing a screenplay. Not really my goal or what I set out to, but my theater dear friend, we were writing plays at the Met Theater. I wrote 2 one-acts that were produced there, and then we would perform in someone else's, and that was all fun with this guy named Eric Rubnick, who's great. And beyond that, we did realize we need to make a film instead of just like tooling around in theater, which is a great training ground. So we co-wrote a film. We co-produced it with our friends. We were all female producers and writer team. And the film, it was a 24-minute short film that I co-wrote and starred in. My writing partner directed, and then the other producers were in it too. We cast it. We won an award, Best Short Film or Best Mississippi Film at the Oxford Film Festival in Mississippi. That was kind of my introduction to the South. I hadn't really spent much time in the South. I was like, interesting. That was a fun festival experience. And then we won another award at the Valley Film Festival in LA. And then we got to go to Cannes, to the Cannes Independent Film Festival with that and the Short Film Corner. And so Cannes was like an eye-opening experience, as any of those big markets can be. And it was a vehicle for all of us, and I feel like I think maybe that also that experience in Mississippi of all places, I didn't want to move to Mississippi, but I feel like almost like that experience and the people I was getting connected with in Tennessee and maybe some in Georgia and Florida, I think that kind of spurred my trajectory later to move to Atlanta. If you would have told me back in 2010 you're going to move to Georgia, I would have said you're crazy. But that was before Atlanta really took off as this big entertainment.
Oh my God, I love Atlanta. We were there. My sister got married out there, and it was such a great city. And and they make Archer there, which is like kind of an adult cartoon, but I really think it's hilarious. And so there's so much happening in Atlanta. So I think that's a great place to be, especially it's probably more affordable to live there. I'm guessing, but who knows now because everything's expensive. But I wanted to kind of keep us on track here, and I wanted to talk a little bit about your current project. It's that feature film you mentioned earlier that I watched called Hello from Nowhere. And it's basically about two couples on a camping trip and kind of what happens when they meet this guy who's hiking the Pacific. Well, they're camping near the Pacific Crest Trail, but this guy's like a thru hiker. And what happens is he tries to like persuade one of them, sort of like any one of them, to stay with him forever in the woods. So, and it's kind of a musical.
I think they're calling it a musical comedy adventure now. I think it kind of defies genres, but yes. It's
because it's not like there's not a song every 5 minutes or anything, but there is some original music. It's funny. Do you want to set up this clip for us?
Sure. Yeah. So, okay. So basically my character Lainey and my best friend / we dated in high school, but it's kind of complicated. We are in the woods with our his girlfriend and the thru hiker. My husband's back at the camp, and we are arguing over a scene from a fictitious musical in high school that we are both obsessed with to this day, and make our partners, try to get them in on the obsession. It's silly that way. And the musical that we are fighting about is a fictitious Gilbert and Sullivan operetta that our high school drama teacher wrote herself.
Which it's hilarious. It's such a great setup. So hopefully Bex can run that for us.
And we're glamping
this from the Queen of Shriek,
the leading lady.
Oh, the only reason Miss Hagen cast you is because she knows if she didn't, you'd slit your wrists.
Oh, she loved my voice.
Oh, no, she didn't.
Oh, yes,
she told me everything.
Monkey.
Whoa.
Shrieker. Peon.
Eva.
Oh, slimy little stage rat who wishes he could be an actor.
That's so fun. That's such a great clip. And then there's another time earlier where he's like doing like he's like starts on all these impressions of every character. He's like, I can do every character right now. It's so funny. And you have a fun scene where you get to go skinny dipping.
Yes, you have some questions about that. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I'm always curious, like, because I'm obviously like you guys are really out in the woods, and I wondered. I mean, I don't know how big your crew was, but it really does look like you're in the middle of nowhere.
We were. I mean, Hello from Nowhere. We were shooting at a Boy Scout camp called Camp Baldwin, which is like at the base of Mount Hood, but it is the middle of nowhere. But the Boy Scout camp, had cabins where all the crew and director and producers and everyone slept, and I think they had to share a bathroom, which is why us SAG actors did not stay at the Boy Scout camp, because SAG has rules that actors on a shoot have to have a private bathroom, I believe, or something that helped there on a low budget, SAG low budget film. So we got to stay at this little boutique hotel close by, which was like antique and adorable. Oh my gosh, so charming. So we got to stay there. And then, but yes, we were filming on a lake in the trees, outdoor shoot the whole time, long days. And we had tents, we had heaters in the tents if it was cold. We had a couple night shoots, mainly during the day though. And that lake scene, oh my goodness. Yes, it was October in Oregon in the mountains. So the lake was freezing. I mean, it was 40, 30 degrees. I don't know. It wasn't a frozen lake, obviously, but it was freezing cold. And I just said, you know what? We got everything we needed, the robes. And like, obviously I had a female PA helping me. Our crew was maybe 25 people. The producers were asked, anybody not directly involved with the scene, meaning the DP or camera department or, the wardrobe, clothes set, right? And we were wearing, the flesh colored bandos and all of that. And I remember just saying, I only want to do this in one take because I knew how cold that water was. And we did it in one take, and it really is that cold. And yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was watching. It's so funny because the other, the guy that's your, boyfriend is like getting in the water, and he's like all walking backwards, taking his time. And I'm like, oh, the only way you will ever get me in a lake that cold is if I'm either pushed or I just have to jump in. Like wading slowly backwards into the water. It's like,
yeah, that was.
And then the other two were just like, we're out of here. Oh, that was funny.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a fun scene. I could have given that one, but thanks for showing the clip.
Yeah. No, I love it. It's great, and it's so easy to watch. And it, even if I think you can just do it through Amazon Prime. You can stream it on your computer, or I mean, we get it on our TV. But it's really well done. The other thing I always kind of wonder about, because I try to shoot some of my own stuff here and there, and I always have so much trouble with sound. And you guys were like by water, and then you're all hiking and walking, and then you've got the cameraman hiking and walking. So I'm always so curious, how do you get such nice, clean sound in those situations?
And he was even in the water with his Ronin. I mean, yeah. I mean, our sound guy, his name was Brian Mazzy. On set, he was awesome. I got to be honest with you. Having made a short film myself, the sound, I'm sure all of us who have made a film would say I think it's the trickiest part, to be quite honest. You can't really fix it in post too well, can you? You can't really mask it. So I think you had asked if we do a lot of ADR. I'll be honest with you. I'm surprised to tell you I might have only had to do 1 or 2 ADR, but it wasn't for sound that needed to be fixed. It was for, we need you to hum da 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 over this vista, or we need you to add this line about the tickling of the feet, or it was additional. It wasn't we need you to come in and correct anything. And I gotta say this, that our director Anthony Orkin is a full-time editor, and his dad was did something for MGM way back in the day. So he comes from, I guess, a film family. I don't know if that helps or not. And he is an editor, and he's an editor. So I think that when you're an editor, his storyboards were amazing. And maybe the technicals are a different wheelhouse when you come from the editing post side, really, than from the acting or, writing side.
As an actor, they walk up to you and they say, "Excuse me, I'm gonna just stick this thing to your body," and you're like, "Okay, that's great," and you don't have to think too much about it. But I think if you're editing, then you hear when things go wrong, and maybe you've learned fixing in post is not a thing. Fixing in post is you have to go ADR a thing. You don't just fix it. It's
you're right.
money and time and effort. And
you are right.
And I had tried to ADR things before, and it's a challenge to match even your own mouth movements to something you did, 6 months ago or something. It's not easy.
Ironically, you should say that because I believe we're going to later watch First Lady clip, and I had to ADR that entire performance.
What? Wow.
That is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Harder than jumping into the 30-degree lake. That was harder because I had shot it 6 months, 8 months ago. And I had to watch the screen in the booth with the producers in London or wherever they were on Zoom, directing me for what they needed. But they said, "Oh, Summer, we're so sorry, but it sounds so tinny and we just couldn't use any of it. I don't know if you were in a tunnel or what on set, but we love it." So, but when you're in that situation, you're like, well, thank God they love my performance enough to keep it. So then I had to match everything from it was so hard.
Yeah, I feel your pain there. It's there's that little beep. It's beep, beep, beep. I'm like, this is not helping. So I think my neighbors are starting up their construction. So I'll just mute myself to help on our end. But I wanted to show your other clip as you just brought it up. And it's so great. And that's what I was thinking about is, here in LA, it's so hard. I feel I'm competing with so many different people, but you are in a scene with Viola Davis. I mean, it's amazing. it's amazing.
I just have to say thank you to the universe for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, what? It's and not that you're not super talented, because believe me, you did amazing work in Hello from Nowhere, and I'm sure I haven't seen a lot of your other stuff, but I'm sure it's great. You seem like you're really nailing it, and I'm like, you're a very natural actor, which I love. But maybe we can just watch this clip and celebrate what a fun, juicy role.
Thank you.
Want to set it up for us?
Oh, yes. So this is episode 10 of The First Lady, and Viola plays Michelle Obama. And my character, Cindy Bedreau, was her. So we're just going to see my scene, but there in the show, you would have seen a flashback to my character as a college student, a younger actress playing me, with Jamie Lawson playing younger Viola Davis as younger Michelle at Princeton. And another local actress who I love here, Holly Morris, plays my mom, or the younger actress's mom, and she is not having it that Michelle Obama would be the roommate. And this is obviously in 1980 something. Nobody knew who Michelle Obama was or who the Obamas would become. And she was Michelle, whatever her, I apologize, Michelle
Robinson,
Obama,
I think.
your last name. Yeah, Robinson. Mm-hmm. And it just shows the pain of that situation. And put it this way. So my character is coming to apologize at her book signing Becoming. And it's at the Fox Theater, and all those years later, and just being a product. And Susan Bear, our director, really said, when we were rehearsing, she said, "You're really just you're a product of your family environment." I said, "I'm not a mean girl. I'm not a, I didn't." She's like, "Nope, you're just a product of that Southern family environment." And so now, years later, just kind of the pain and of coming to apologize for almost like who you are or who your family was.
Hi.
Hi.
Michelle. I mean, Mrs. Obama.
You can call me Michelle.
Hey,
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember me. I'm Cindy Bedreau. We were at Princeton together.
Yes.
And we were supposed to be roommates. I have felt terrible all these years, and especially now seeing who you've become, I'm just...
There's water under the bridge. So.
Well, I'm still sorry.
I won't lie, but that's kind of nice to know.
Thank you.
So good to see you.
That's such a powerful scene. It like gets me, I'm just thinking, I mean, your expression, it's like, it feels like your character was sort of hoping for maybe like more forgiveness, maybe, or something. And like, and Michelle gives about as much as she can, it's like.
Yeah, I just remember even the discussions on set. And I remember, if I'm remembering clearly, there were discussions about forgiveness. And I remember, and Viola Davis, gosh, what a iconic powerhouse to be able to work with. And I remember her saying, "I wouldn't forgive her right now." And I remember the director, talking about it, and I remember them looking at me, and I was like, "I get it. Forgiveness is a process." And I mean, if you're just seeing me for the first time in 20 years or however long, 20 plus years, I mean, and just now, I mean,
talking about blindsiding somebody in a moment.
That apology is nice, but we don't process forgiveness like that. And I remember something, I hope I'm not misquoting her, but I remember, I think Viola said something like, this is in rehearsal. She said, "We're not there yet." And it almost felt like a bigger statement about America, and I was like thinking, and then, I know also in this process, I know what the scene was written, and then I know what is on TV. And sometimes, when it's a more nuanced scene with less of the dialogue that might have been there before, it's almost like in those nuances, like, I think it was a bigger statement about kind of where America is and how we still have so far to go.
Well, it was great. It was really great. And if anybody wants to, go watch that series, it's amazing. So definitely go do that. So we have to kind of wrap it up here. And I usually like to, talk just a little bit about, people that maybe inspired you or tips or tricks or things you might want to share with anyone. So do you have any shout outs?
Yeah. So when I was in Los Angeles still and hadn't made the move to Atlanta, I was a part of a goal group. It's called the New Hollywood. I think you go to newhollywood.org. And I think that helped contribute to the positive mindset thing I was talking about too. When I was a part of that group, it had a philanthropic element in that, we paid dues and some of the money or a lot of the money went to charities or, and we would do hands-on things at charities as well. And then there was a subset of that group called Wine and Cheerios. And Wine and Cheerios, so Brianna Brown has always headed up the New Hollywood. You could look her up. She's on Dynasty and other shows in the past. And another actress, Angel Parker, who was super inspirational to me, she said, Summer, I know you're a new mom. You're still, a badass, but sometimes we moms need to take a break and focus on our families. Or sometimes we need to listen to, that pivot or what maybe our goals shift when we now have, these other, as you said, other dreams and little people in our lives. And so Wine and Cheerios was a way to still stay in this entertainment industry goal group and have my goals as, an actor and writer, entertainment industry person, but at the same time, like commune with other moms, drink wine and let our kids play, which is the Wine and Cheerios part. And it was really inspiring at that time. And then I remember like my kids were super young and 2017 comes around and I know I'm about to make this big move to Atlanta. My marriage is on the rocks. We're in couples counseling. I don't know what the next step is, but I remember her saying, Angel, thank you for saying to me, you know what? Your kids are going to keep getting older. Your kids are going to be 4. They're going to be 6. They're going to be 8. You're going to have more time. And you really should think about rebranding yourself as, the mature boss lady, or whatever your role is, the attorney, the doctor, it's that finding that niche. And it was really helpful. Angel inspired me a lot, as a mom, as an actor, and just also Angel, she has been so visionary and like she wants something, she puts it up on her wall. This is the house I want. This is the income I want. And I think that there's a lot to be said for that. And a lot of our self-esteem as actors can just get shot down based on the partner we're with, the friends that we choose to have in our circle, the family we come from. And it's really, for me, been about, I enjoy being a part of the group when the group collective is, we're helping each other. And I got a lot out of that group. And then sometimes I need to step away from the group, really go in, really focus on my meditation, my journaling, my vision, my envisioning. What am I visualizing for my next steps, for me, for my family, for my kids? And I guess I wanted to shout them out because it was really an inspirational time, an inspirational group. And I'm grateful for all the tools I got. And I still have friendships there and people there that I really admire and respect. And I'm grateful to.
That's fantastic. I love that. And I think that's one of the things I love most about doing the podcast, besides being able to talk to amazing people like yourself, is
You're amazing.
there's thank you. Is that, we've all got these experiences that, helped us along the way. And I just love sharing that information with people. And it sounds like New Hollywood is still a current group. So, people can go check that out. And sounds like Wine and Cheerios might have wrapped up now.
I have to check on that for you. If it's not still going, if you don't see it on there, PM me and I'll find out.
Okay, yeah. And then, I just really appreciate you taking your time and sharing with us. And thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It's been really wonderful.
So if you want to keep up with Summer, which is going to be a challenge because she's a very busy lady. Well, first of all, you can check out all the links in the show notes. I'll be adding them once everything goes live. And I also wanted to remind you that you can watch Hello from Nowhere, and that is available on Apple TV, Amazon Prime, and other video on demand platforms. And then you can keep up with Summer on Instagram at Summer Rain Menkee or on Facebook.com/Summer Menkee. So, stay in touch, look her up, like, support, share.
Thank you so much. It's been awesome chatting with you today.
Thanks. You too.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, that's our show. We hope you loved it. If you did, make sure you're subscribed, tell your friends about it, and why not write us a review? If you know someone that would make a great guest on our show, drop us a line. You can find us on Instagram at ThunderTally or go to our website, thundertally.com. This show was produced by Bex Francis, edited by me, Erin Newmeyer. The music was performed and written by Dylan Newmeyer. And our sponsor is Filmcraft LA, so make sure you go check them out. This has been a ThunderTally Media production.